All right, so today we're going to dig into something I think is pretty interesting.
Okay.
It's wholesale merchants in metals and metal ores.
Mm.
And we're using RoleCatcher for this, which
Oh.
is kind of like this amazing resource for anyone who wants to find out like what a job actually entails.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the folks behind the scenes who handle the raw materials for like everything, right? Like
Yeah.
skyscrapers, cars, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a field that often flies under the radar, but it's essential
Yeah.
to how our world functions.
Totally. And when you think about it, like we all know about buying and selling stuff, but this is next level.
Right.
RoleCatcher really emphasizes just how much more is involved.
Yeah.
Like we're not talking about just, fulfilling orders. It's
Okay.
about understanding global markets, like really predicting trends years in advance.
It is really thinking long term
Yeah.
and understanding the forces that shape supply and demand on a global scale.
Exactly. Like imagine having to secure enough lithium for the next generation of electric car batteries.
Exactly.
That's the kind of scale these merchants are working with.
You've got to have your finger on the pulse of technology,
Yeah.
geopolitics, environmental regulations.
Right.
It all ties in.
It's like a huge puzzle.
It is.
And you have to put all the pieces together.
Absolutely.
Okay, so RoleCatcher gets into the skills needed, right? Things like active listening,
Yeah.
negotiation, which I guess makes sense in any kind of like
Does it?
setting.
Of course.
But they also highlight something I hadn't really thought about. So deep market understanding.
Right.
What does that actually look like in this field?
Well, it's not just about knowing the price of a ton of steel today.
Right.
It's about understanding why that price is what it is
Okay.
and what might cause it to change tomorrow.
Yeah, gotcha.
A political shift in a mining region, a natural disaster that disrupts supply chains,
Oh, wow.
even a technological breakthrough that suddenly increases demand for a specific metal.
Wow.
These factors can create huge market swings.
I bet.
And a wholesale merchant needs to be able to anticipate and adapt.
See, that's what I mean about next level,
Yeah.
because it's almost like you need to be part economist.
You need to be able to analyze trends,
Yeah.
understand economic indicators,
Right.
and then translate that into strategic decisions about buying and selling.
It's kind of like you're almost a risk analyst or something,
In a way, yes,
because you're dealing with so much uncertainty.
absolutely.
Okay, so we're talking high stakes,
Yeah.
high pressure.
Definitely.
What kind of personality thrives in that kind of environment?
Well, you need someone who's comfortable with risk,
Okay.
someone who can stay calm under pressure.
Uh-huh.
RoleCatcher uses the phrase thick skin,
Ooh.
and I think that's very appropriate here.
That makes sense because you're dealing with a lot of rejection probably.
It's a
right?
lot of competition.
Right.
Negotiations can be tough. You need to be able to handle setbacks and keep moving forward.
And not take it personally.
Exactly.
All right, let's talk about the good stuff and the maybe not so good stuff.
Okay.
RoleCatcher mentions a median salary of $170,000.
Yeah, that definitely caught my eye too.
Right. I mean,
It's a significant earning potential.
yeah, that's a pretty penny.
It is.
But with that kind of earning potential, there's got to be some trade-offs, right?
Of course. High rewards usually come with high demands.
What are we talking about here? Long hours?
Long hours are definitely part of it,
Right.
especially when you're dealing with global markets.
Time zones and all that.
Exactly. You might be up at 3:00 a.m. negotiating a deal with a supplier in China
Oh, man.
and then working late into the evening to finalize contracts with a buyer in Europe.
Yeah.
It's not a 9-to-5 job.
So you need a certain kind of stamina,
You do.
both physical and mental.
Absolutely. You've got to be able to think clearly,
Yeah.
make sound judgments, even when you're running on very little sleep.
And probably a lot of coffee.
Probably a lot of coffee.
So it's not all glamorous.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
But it can be incredibly exciting,
Yeah.
rewarding for the right person.
So let's talk about that person.
Okay.
How do you even get into this field? RoleCatcher mentions a few different paths.
Mhm.
A business degree seems like a no-brainer.
It's definitely a good foundation.
But it sounds like experience is key here, too.
Absolutely.
Like you can't just walk out of college and into a high-stakes negotiation, right?
Well, a business degree gives you the fundamentals,
Yeah.
but the real learning happens on the job.
Okay, so how do you get that experience? Internships, entry-level positions.
Both of those are great options.
Okay.
RoleCatcher also highlights the importance of industry-specific certifications.
Like what?
Well, becoming a certified wholesale merchant, for example,
Oh, right.
shows potential employers
Okay.
that you have a deep understanding of the industry.
So it's like a stamp of approval
Exactly.
that you know your stuff.
Pres-
Okay, so we've got education, we've got experience, we've got certifications.
Mhm.
It sounds like you're constantly building your credibility in this world.
You are.
It's very specialized,
It is a niche market.
but also like incredibly global.
Exactly.
So how do you even begin to grasp the complexities of that?
Well, that's where understanding the different career stages outlined by RoleCatcher can be really helpful,
Okay.
because it's through that progression that you start to really understand the global forces at play. It's like you're starting your journey as a wholesale merchant, kind of like an apprenticeship almost.
So those early years are really about learning the ropes.
Exactly. You're diving into market reports, tracking commodity prices, maybe even assisting with the logistics of like a shipment of iron ore.
From like Brazil or something.
Exactly. You're getting a feel for how these materials actually move around the world.
It's like you said, getting your hands dirty.
In a way, yes, but also starting to see the bigger picture. Right, because even at this early stage, you might be researching potential suppliers in Southeast Asia or analyzing how a new trade agreement could impact the price of cobalt.
So it's not just about crunching numbers in a back office.
Not at all. It's about understanding the global forces that drive the market.
Okay, but let's be real for a second. What does that actually translate to in terms of day-to-day responsibilities?
Well, you're definitely going to be spending a lot of time analyzing data, preparing reports,
Spreadsheets galore.
probably more spreadsheets than you ever thought possible.
And I'm guessing some late nights too.
There might be some late nights, especially when you're working across different time zones.
Right, because the deal doesn't sleep just because it's 5 p.m. your time.
Exactly. But RoleCatcher also emphasizes the importance of mentorship during those early years.
That makes sense because you need someone to show you the ropes, right?
Absolutely. You'll likely be paired with a more experienced wholesale merchant who can teach you the art of negotiation, how to manage risk in a volatile market, things like that.
Speaking of negotiation, that's something we touched on earlier. How does that actually play out in the day-to-day life of, say, a junior wholesale merchant? That's the next step up, right?
Right. So as a junior merchant, you're starting to take on more responsibility, moving from analyzing deals to actually closing them.
Okay, so now the pressure is really on.
The stakes are definitely higher, but so are the rewards.
Give me an example. What kind of deal are we talking about?
Let's say a major electronics manufacturer needs a steady supply of palladium.
Palladium, that's used in catalytic converters, right?
Exactly. You'd be responsible for securing that supply.
No pressure, right?
Well, there's definitely pressure to get the best possible price and terms for your company.
So you'd be researching potential sources of palladium, negotiating prices, maybe even traveling to visit mines?
It's all part of the job. You need to understand the entire supply chain, from the mine to the manufacturing plant.
So you're not just a desk jockey. You could be on a plane to South Africa one week, then meeting with executives in Silicon Valley the next.
It's a dynamic field, that's for sure.
And it sounds like you need to be incredibly adaptable.
Absolutely. Things can change very quickly in this industry. You need to be able to think on your feet and adjust your strategy accordingly.
And I'm guessing those who can handle that kind of pressure are compensated accordingly.
RoleCatcher mentions that junior merchants can earn upwards of $120,000 a year, with bonuses often tied to the success of their deals.
Okay, so the earning potential is definitely there.
It's a demanding field, but it can be very lucrative.
And it seems like a master's degree in supply chain management would be a valuable asset at this stage.
Absolutely. A deeper understanding of logistics, procurement, and global supply chains would definitely give you an edge.
So you're not just a trader, you're a strategist.
Exactly. You're thinking about how to optimize complex global networks to ensure a steady flow of materials.
Okay, so we've climbed the ladder from entry level to junior merchant. Now we're at the summit senior wholesale merchant. What does that look like, according to RoleCatcher?
At that level, you've really made a name for yourself in the industry.
You're no longer the rookie.
Not anymore. You've got years of experience, a proven track record of success.
You've closed major deals, navigated complex negotiations.
And now you're in a position to really shape the industry.
That's amazing to have that kind of influence.
It's a lot of responsibility, but it can be very rewarding.
So you're not just shaping the market, you're shaping ethical standards too.
And that's becoming increasingly important, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. Consumers want to know that the products they're buying are ethically sourced.
Right.
And that pressure is definitely trickling up to the companies that make those products.
And ultimately to the wholesale merchants who supply the raw materials.
Exactly. So it's not just about getting the best price for a ton of copper anymore.
It's about considering the entire life cycle of that copper.
From where it was mined
To how it was mined.
to the working conditions of the miners.
To the environmental impact of the mining operation.
It's a lot to consider.
It is. But it's essential for companies that want to operate ethically and responsibly.
So how does a senior wholesale merchant actually make sure that their sourcing practices are ethical?
Well, it starts with asking the right questions.
Like what?
Where are these materials coming from?
Okay.
Are the mining practices sustainable?
Uh-huh.
Are workers being treated fairly?
Right.
Are there any human rights concerns?
And I'm guessing there's no easy answer to those questions.
Not always.
Huh.
It often requires working closely with suppliers, conducting audits, even visiting mines in person to verify the information you're getting.
So it's almost like you're an investigator,
In a way, yes.
trying to trace those materials back to their source and make sure everything is above board.
Exactly. And it's a responsibility that many senior wholesale merchants take very seriously.
Because at the end of the day, it's about more than just profit,
It's about making sure that the industry is sustainable,
not just environmentally.
but socially as well.
It's about doing business in a way that benefits everyone involved.
That's the goal, at least.
Wow, we've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
From the nitty-gritty of market analysis to the ethical implications of global trade.
It's been quite a deep dive.
It has, and I have to say, I'm really impressed by RoleCatcher.
Me too. It's a fantastic resource for anyone who's even remotely curious about this field.
Or any field, really.
That's true. They've got information on everything.
They really do.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in learning more about wholesale merchants in metals and metal ores,
Or any other career for that matter.
head over to RoleCatcher and start exploring.
It's like having a career counselor right at your fingertips.
All right, that's it for today's deep dive.
Until next time.
Keep those brains buzzing.